cheering for you to get on.
Oh,
Early, so we could be live early.
yeah.
Hey, welcome.
I'm early. I was early.
No, you were late.
Oh,
Okay, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. We're live 7 a.m. every weekday morning. Well, when Dave can bother to turn up. So you can join us on YouTube or Facebook, and we welcome you here. And I wonder if I got the info. The info. No, where is that info? All right, not to worry. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. Huh. Don't know how that works, but anyway. It's saying it's showing, but it isn't. Okay, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara, and we're here, and welcome Rose Fiddler. Say good morning.
hello.
And Rick is also saying good morning.
Hi, Rick. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome to Talking Now this morning. Okay, as we probably all have heard during the weekend, the former St. Catharines Standard building was gutted by fire over the weekend.
Yeah, what a shame. It seems to be a lot of these older buildings are going up in flames, and you wonder.
Well,
It was an abandoned building, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've been expecting this since the Standard moved out. In fact, even before the Standard moved out, it looked as if it was gutted anyway. Trouble is with this building, it was a fantastic building. All it needed was somebody to actually step in there and take care of it.
Well, it's like our old buildings downtown, the Empire Building and the other ones down that way, just being destroyed by wanton fire.
Yeah.
It's I don't know who's getting the thrill of it. Mr. Simon's house that was behind his business, that got burnt down. Why? I don't know what the thrill is here. I don't think that they can't make an investigation in this particular incident because the building was burned so bad. Nobody can go in there and figure out what happened. So the cause of it has to remain undetermined. Yeah. But dollars to donuts, it was ignited by an arson just to see the thrill of it.
Well, going. Yeah, but what bothers me is actually, what bothers me about this, Dave, is it's a lot cheaper to build a new building from the ground up than to have to deal with an old building that you have to bulldoze, right? So now you can come along, buy the space, build a new building, build a new condo building or whatever.
I don't know if this was part of I don't know who owns it, if they arranged to have it arsoned. We don't even know if it's arson because that cannot be determined. But
yeah,
I have a feeling it's just plain ordinary malicious arson. That's what I think. It was very complete though.
Yeah,
it took a lot of effort to put the fire out. It took a lot of. They had to bring in heavy equipment to break down some of the walls and lift the ceilings so that they could get water into certain hot spots. And the fire department says it'd be a couple of days before they put it all out. So I don't know what was being stored in there and why it was burning so thoroughly and so everywhere, kind of thing, which makes you think. Of course, being cynical these days, it's easy to be cynical. You think, well, obviously that was set on purpose. Whether it was done by a pyromaniac that was just some bored dude that wanted to see the fire or a professional arsonist, we don't know.
Well, they had to. Part of that heavy equipment was to stop the building collapsing into adjacent streets. So if they could push
and also to get at the fire, that they couldn't get at.
Yeah,
because you couldn't go in the building to get the fire. you know,
Yeah.
so
They also don't want it falling out onto the streets. They want it to collapse in on itself in such a situation, right? The trouble is, here's the question. While no injuries have been reported, we know the building was frequented by squatters.
There we go.
Right. You know, it's fact of life. It has been for quite some time. The old print works at the back, you know, the old standard print factory at the back has been long invaded by squatters. Those that live
well, that could be it. They could have let a fire to. They could have let a fire to keep themselves warm.
Yeah,
and it got out of hand.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Yeah.
That's one of the possibilities, and we'll probably never know.
Probably never know, but it's going to be another reason why people hate homeless people, and that kind of distaste for homeless people will continue. As wastrels and offscourings of society, because where they go, they destroy things. This isn't the first time you find the association of squatters with a building that burns down. So I don't know. Could have been an accident. Could have been for any reason at all. But I don't know. It's we've had a lot more fires than we've ever had. And what is it? Well, and we abandoned buildings. And what good was it going to be anyway? The old St. Catharines Standard. It was an abandoned building. They couldn't do much with it. It's kind of like the Review building. Like, what are they going to do with it? They can't do much with it, can they?
Yeah. Yeah.
At one time, it used to be an important piece of architecture. Drive by the Niagara Falls Review, you knew that's where the news was coming from. That's where it's going to be printed. That had jobs for everybody and journalists. And LaFleche was talking about when he started there in 1998 in the St. Catharines Standard and the old building it was, and it had a kind of an honored position. It was almost 200 years old now. So,
well, Rose is asking whether as an insurance scam. Yeah,
possibly, but
probably that building is not even insured. Hasn't it's been what? It's been 4 years since the Standard left.
Yeah, and it's been an empty building, so they may have had fire insurance on it, because I think you're required to have a certain amount of insurance on it, aren't you?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they would have left it alone without fire insurance. So you probably had fire insurance, and damage insurance of some kind, but it was an albatross around the neck of whoever owned it, because what are you going to do with it? You got a print company. You don't print newspapers anymore. If you do, they come from smaller or more efficient printers, and you don't get much of the way.
Well, and there's hardly any newspapers anyway, because we probably print a third of the number of newspapers we used to print.
Yeah.
Which is weird when you consider that I was speaking with some school students recently, and I just asked the question, how many people read books? I was expecting the answer to be, no, I get all my stuff, I get it. I do all my studies on tablet or internet. And I was very surprised that the answer was, yeah, probably half the class read books.
Did they read them electronic books, or did they read?
No, they actually have the physical books. They prefer to use the physical books than the actual electronic books.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah. And so there's a return to that sort of thing. So in a way, is there likely ever to be a return to press, printed press, newspapers? Or is that just something we consider that's part of the internet? If it's fleeting, it's part of the internet. If it's permanent, you might buy it in a book.
Yes. I don't know. Yeah. It's I don't know. I find it. I've got an e-reader and I've got real books. So, and I read most of my stuff off my phone now.
Yeah.
I mean, I got newspaper subscriptions, and I read my newspapers right on my phone.
Yeah, no, and exactly. I think most of us, when it comes to news, where it's a different story every day, we read that off the phone, or off a browser or something. Whereas when it comes to a fictional story, we will actually pick it up and use it. Take it on a book.
Yeah. Well, there was a time that I would have chosen a newspaper, and I still see them, a Globe and Mail here and there. There was a time I would have bought the Globe and Mail to have a physical thing to have
I'm very much
but now I don't even think of buying one, even when I see it, because I got it right here on my phone.
Yeah. No, and I'm the guy. I'm also the guy that prefers the newsprint. But that said, I would read. I used to get the last paper that I used to subscribe to was the Times and Sunday Times in England, and I'd read the Sunday Times typically in about an hour and a half.
Yep.
Because 9 times out of 10 the stories are not interesting to me. So in a paragraph, I'm read. I know what the story's about, and I'm moving on very often.
Well, that's good journalism. Good journalism will give you the gist of the story in the first couple of paragraphs, and if that's enough for you, that's it. If you need more details, just like think of a hockey game. Toronto Maple Leafs defeat Montreal Canadiens 5-4 in a rough contest that were a lot of penalties, right? So you describe that in the first paragraph or two. Then, if you want more details, who busted whose nose, who scored what goals, who had what assists.
But if I just
go for that after that, but you get that, you get the details right off the bat. If
I get the basics, I can move on.
Yeah, the Toronto won, and there was lots of fights.
Yeah, so exactly. There you go. Exactly, and I don't necessarily need to know who was involved in the fights. Although if I read on, that would tell me.
But if that sparked your interest, you're a hockey fan, then you move on from there.
Yeah.
Same thing of in the RSF fighters attacked Darfur village again and killed 500. And then you could then go into the details thereafter. But in the first couple of paragraphs, the RSF is doing this nasty things in Darfur again, and you can determine that there's a humanitarian crisis there. You can figure that out in the first couple paragraphs. Yeah. If you needed more details, then you can move on from there.
Okay, moving on. Niagara Region Regional Council is viewing infrastructure as the way to making spending costs.
Yeah. This was what I was kind of afraid of. When they start doing these budgets, they have all kinds of legacy costs basically over the years. They've allowed the infrastructure, particularly water and sewage and water treatment plants, to go too old. They've lacked putting investment in them for too long, kicked them down the road way too long. Now we really do need them, but now we're in a situation where we are in affordability crisis, and the cost of government is going up much faster than that of the cost, the wages and the wherewithal of the average taxpayer. So they're really stuck in a situation here where they've kicked the can down the road, particularly with water and wastewater, too long, where half of your facilities are in very poor condition, and they need attention, plus roads, plus everything else. So they're going to have to think, well, what are we going to do now? So they're saying to hold back on some of this stuff to give taxpayers.
But for example, the water and wastewater treatment plants in Niagara Falls, we can't stop that. We need them. The new plant. It's got to open.
Yeah. Well, when they're talking about new investment that hasn't already been planned for. So they're talking about to completely close the gap in this infrastructure deficit that we actually have. But they're saying also at the same time that they can't catch up to this infrastructure deficit, the infrastructure that we need that has long been overlooked now has to be shrunk. The budget for it has to be shrunk because the people can't pay for this anymore.
Yeah.
Talking about 3.18% increase over the next 10 years or something like that, which would make it 37% on its own. And that's not including the police budget, which seems to completely have a mind of its own and balloon hugely. A lot of it is
because we accept because the council with the police budget, the council accepts that police are necessary, and that's why we overspend on it.
Yeah, so we spend a huge amount of money on the police here in Niagara Falls. 1/4 of our budget's for fire department. I don't know where you're going to be able to find efficiencies anywhere in this.
Yeah.
And now you're saying, well, we got to sort of slow down our infrastructure costs on water. Seriously, you're going to need water. And you've already kicked it far enough down the road. This looks like very poor planning from previous administrations.
Yeah.
When they wanted to keep the tax bill down, they said, okay, we won't do anything about the needed infrastructure for water. So we'll just kick that down the road a little bit. Well, you can only kick it down the road for so long.
Yeah.
And then you're going to need water and you're in trouble.
And part of the problem here is that I have to, I'm stuck between these kind of two questions. Is this primarily a fiscal responsibility issue, or is it a failure to have set up some form of long-term community plan way back?
I think, you would have thought that when the engineering went in for the water and wastewater facilities back then, there would have been a consultant. There probably was. There probably was a consultant or two that advised the previous governments, the previous municipal and regional governments, about the timeline for the life expectancy of a water treatment plant.
Yeah.
And that how to plan ahead and make sure that you're not in a situation where half of your resources are in poor or very poor condition. Obviously, they didn't plan enough. Who was there? I know for sure the engineers would be saying stuff all the time. They see this, and the engineers are practical people. And they will say, look, the timeline of this water treatment plant is X amount of years. You have to plan for the next one, the next generation water plants.
And
that they did.
The type of thing an engineer does is actually he looks at a site, he has to look, inspect a site because of some work that's going on there. And he's going to say, well, we can patch this up for the next 5 years, or we need to build a replacement.
Even the municipal engineers that were there when the first one was built would have an understanding of the lifetime of a water treatment plant, or a road, or a sewer, or anything else.
Yeah.
And then make provisions to replace it in a timely manner. If you plan it, then you plan for that expense going forward. But what happens with politicians, they want to keep the price of your taxes down. So if they can ignore it and nobody notices it, the engineer quietly raging in the back office saying, hey, wait a minute. Do you know that in 20 years, if you don't do something about this now, in 20 years, that's not going to work very well, and it's going to cost you a lot more? Well, yeah, that's 20 years from now, and I'll be out of office by then.
Yeah. And part of the problem here is that if an engineer says it's got to be done in the next 20 years, you probably ought to be planning for it to be done in the next 10.
No. If an engineer tells you that, then it's probably very accurate. Plan for 20, but do the planning.
No, I'm saying plan it and plan to get it done and get it done earlier than the engineer says. I'm not doubting.
That'll never happen in government.
I'm not doubting the accuracy of the engineer. I'm saying that we have governmental responsibility to the people.
Yeah. And I think pretty much I don't know, that it's always taxes, taxes, taxes. And now we're in a real rough point where our taxes are going up quite a bit. And that's because
we get nothing for it.
We can't pay for the things we've kicked down the road for too long. Yeah. That's the whole idea, though. The politician doesn't want to present taxes, and people will vote for somebody who says, "Oh, you don't have to pay as much taxes," and then all of a sudden it comes to the point where you got to pay the taxes because now your water's not working, and your roads are all broken, and there's old storm sewers under there that have to be rerouted. And suddenly you say to your tax base, "Well, we have to do all this thing," and then the tax base is saying, "Well, why didn't you do it gradually over time?" Now we're stuck with these big bills.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly why I say you take what the engineer says and try to get it done sooner than that, because you want got to plan it in.
You'll never do that in government.
I know, and that's part of the problem. Yeah,
it'll always be late.
Yeah, but you see, a corporation would plan it in appropriately.
Possibly, but I found working in private industry, they do stupid stuff like that too. They defer costs, and then they have major breakdowns. No one better than when the cracker blew out in the refinery down in Nanticoke. They were pushing all that equipment. Every tradesman, every engineer said, "Look, you're gonna have to fix this." Head office said, "No, keep pushing, more product," and then they had a major calamity, and it took them months to fix the thing and get it back going again.
Yeah, I get it, because in fact, actually, that's the problem when you delay this sort of stuff.
Yeah, Anyway, what else we got?
Yeah, no, just got a few comments. So, would that include wastewater treatment and sewage? Yes, it does. Crumbling roads, absolutely. How many cities would Niagara have? 3 or 4? We all know Niagara Falls, St. Catharines are ready to go. Bill 45 Peel Region is second reading. Make these 3 cities. Bill 60 transferred water waste to. That doesn't continue on. He says municipal. Okay. We are already. We're there already. Niagara Falls, Welland, St. Catharines are very behind an outdated system. Absolutely. Right. And it's open to the private. Maybe we have to have another Walkerton. And they put the cart before the horse, and our fresh water is in trouble. Yeah. All of those are true.
Yeah. All right. So what else do we got?
Yeah. Moving on. Where we're going to go to. Okay, so Niagara firms win construction industry awards. That's a good thing to hear. So 2 firms, I think one is ES Fox and the other is Salit Steel, will be honoured with awards presented by the Ironworker Management Progressive Action Competitive Trust, and that the acronym for that is IMPACT. Which will recognize achievements by construction excellence and celebrates projects that exemplify innovation, safety, quality, and strong partnership.
Well, it looks like these are more like ironworker awards. Now, the ironworker local here was part of the job for the ES Fox was to lift old gates, near 100-year-old gates that had been submerged, redundant gates, canal gates, that had been submerged near Lock 1 and were brought back up when the original gates that are on Lock right now are being removed and sent for scrap. These gates that had been submerged back in the 50s are being pulled back up 70 years later or more. And they were built in the 30s. And I know I worked on that canal a lot. The plans for it are the blueprints for 29 or 1919. That's how long it took to build it. In 1929, it was starting to operate. But a lot of that technology is old and pretty good for the time period. You know,
so they raised these gates and they replaced certain of the gates along the lock.
Yeah, in Lock 7. So basically, they've taken these old gates that were submerged. So that kind of confused me. I thought, is that standard practice? Did they just drop them there because they were redundant and they just had to get them out of the way? No, they did this on purpose, and this is standard practice. So you think the wood and the steel and everything would have corroded. No, that's exactly the opposite. If you submerge them down in cold water like that, they will preserve themselves for a very long time because you need a combination of oxygen with the water in order to cause the rust.
Yeah.
As far as the oak timbers being submerged like that actually helps preserve them. So they sank these big gates that were 400, it says whatever it was there, 4,000 something kilograms, or it was a huge weight. So they were able to lift them up and then using huge derrick cranes, swing them into place and install them, which was quite an excellent work. So you must imagine what those old gates, building brand new ones, must cost, because if you're using ones that are submerged, you have to get them up and then transport them to location and then use special derrick cranes and that to swing them into place, along with barges and everything else. The barges came in to lift them out of where they were down by Lock 1, and then you need special derrick cranes in location to pick them up and put them into place.
Oh yeah, no,
that's quite a bit of engineering and quite a bit of cost. So you think to yourself, why didn't they just build new ones? I guess because they already had them built and it was more cost effective to use the ones they had stored underwater.
I get the fact that they've got these stored is a good thing, but what happens when they don't have them stored? Are they now cutting the new gates and storing them under the water, under the underground?
No, there's no new ones. These were purpose built back in 1930.
Oh, I get it. No, but I'm just
saying,
what are we doing for the next generation in 50 years' time?
Have to build brand new ones. There's no more submerged ones out there.
But again, in 50 years' time, I doubt that the lock infrastructure that we have today will remain in place, because they're already talking about lengthening the boats on the Great Lakes.
Well, they already are. You get the 1,000-footers, and if you work right up to Lake Erie, they have the 1,000-footers. But to get from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario, you have to go into the Lakers, which are about 720 feet long.
Yeah,
and in order to accommodate larger ships, you're going to have to make the canal bigger.
Yeah,
and right now that would be an enormous cost.
Oh, yeah, and essentially, but that's coming. You know that. We know that, right?
It may be coming.
The viability of keeping the all of the sections of the Great Lakes open. They're already talking about 1,500-foot boats.
Well, then they're going to have to really do some major things to the canal.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. I would say that they, in order to do anything like that, they would have to twin it basically from where it is, or something of that kind, because this is an old system. The old canal is an old system.
Oh, I know.
It gets drained. Year after year after year, we're fixed. I worked on the canal 7 different seasons. I worked on a bunch of different locks and gates and all that other stuff. I did for 7 different seasons, And it's the same. And sometimes you have real major ones where we have to go right in and fix up the walls. There might be caving in or getting some major stuff. So it is done. Like for 100 years, the canals worked very, very well. I mean, the current in its current sort of incarnation.
Yeah, I'm not denying anything of what you say there, Dave. Absolute true. Everything you say there is absolutely the truth about our lock system. But we know the larger, in order to get these larger vessels down to the lower lakes, we're going to have to do something.
Well, you're not going to do that through the Welland Canal, not too easily going forward.
Yeah.
If you do, it's going to have to be major reconstruction because everything's built. All that old system is there. You'd have to do a complete tear out almost.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to tear out the walls.
Your next canal would be different. Would be entirely different to the prior canal.
Yeah, and you might have to. Yeah, it would be a major construction project to widen the canal, to make it longer, the locks longer, and all that. I suppose it could be done, but it would be a major undertaking. And if the 720-foot Lakers do the job for now, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, yep. All right. We got one comment upon this. Amazon closes warehouse, laying off 2,000 workers as a third party to do their delivery. This is in Quebec.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
More jobs lost.
Well, I don't know. We seemingly relied upon more and more on Amazon, but still. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, if I can't find, I often can't find clothes on my size, and I must have a very common size because by the time I get to the stores, all my size is already gone. So
they don't have much in your size.
I go on Amazon, I can get it delivered to my door a couple of days later, the right size.
Well, I've got an Amazon shirt on here, right? I know this one came from Amazon. I have probably 50% of my shirts are Amazon, 50% are bought locally. And normally the place that you get them is either Walmart. I find is either Walmart or Costco.
Well, yeah, Walmart, Costco, whatever.
Yeah,
it's interesting I don't know. I don't go shop. I hate going shopping anyway. But it might be Mark's warehouse or whatever. I might go on and look
Mark's
clothes.
Mark's will do nice clothes for you, but will rarely do me any office wear.
Yeah, and you can only get the very best of office wear at Walmart.
No, I
can just see you now on the runway. Here's Peter. Here's Peter coming down with his Costco suit. Notice the tie.
Actually, let me stop you there. The suit I wear is self-made. I've got 4 suits that are all self-made, that are all made to measure, right? So I didn't make them. They were made by tailors. And I got them. Funny thing is that 3 of them I got in India, 1 I got in Britain.
Well, there you go.
Superb suits, and I haven't needed to buy another suit for years.
Yeah, well, I expect when you do, it'll be bought in Costco.
Unlikely, because I doubt that I'll ever buy another suit again.
I don't know myself. Of course, I was a blue collar worker, so I was a white collar worker briefly at different times, and I had a few different suits. I had sort of half-year stints in Westinghouse office for a while, so I had a couple different suits that I wore just to change things up. But I remember that's about the only time I got good at tying ties. Once they started tying ties, they could do them blindfolded after a while. But now I couldn't. It takes me a while to tie one.
All right. So anyway, moving on. A year of outreach and connection at Niagara Falls Public Library.
Yeah, they're doing quite a bit now. The Niagara Falls Public Library. So of course it talks about the bookmobile that goes around from place to place, servicing parts of the community.
I've seen the bookmobile. I've seen the bookmobile in action. Great thing.
Yeah, but it also talks about other things that we don't really think of at the library. And I got into this when we were approached for a donation for Stanford Public Library, we in Kiwanis, and they were doing the renovations. And because the renovations began during COVID time, everything was thrown out of kilter and costs went way up. And so they required more donations from the public, and being Kiwanis, we did come up with one. In fact, there's a plaque beside one of the study rooms there, Kiwanis Club of Stanford, Canada, beside one of the, because we gave so much money to them, entitled us to have a plaque there. But what I was going to say basically was they do a lot of things with kids. They provide a safe place at Stanford Library for kids. This was a kind of a thing that began accidentally. When I was talking to them, what happened was teenage kids from the high school come over during lunch or other periods of time and after school. They would come there, and I think they provided a space for them to just sort of hang out and look at books and do what they were well behaved, so they just let them hang out there, and that kind of grew. It's kind of grown into a kind of a service, basically, for the kids, where they can get help if they need it. And if I can find the article, I'll read it.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of, I like this whole idea about being able to take the bookmobile around and take it to places that wouldn't normally go, wouldn't normally find the books easily, right? And so long as they've got a good circuit, they've got places to go, and they garner local interest, that's always good.
Yeah, so this thing here called WIHU. WIHU, I don't even know if they pronounce it that way. That's an acronym. Basically, Niagara Regional Youth Wellness Hub is to bring grade 9ers to 12 at Stanford Center Live branch. The program offered 183 unique visitors, a safe space, and a social support across 128 program days. Of course, they learned about nutrition and things like that there. Yeah. That has grown from a place where kids were just kind of coming to hang out in a safe place, that they liked, and so they found wellness. They learned about nutrition, and they were also directed to other social services they might need. So they're doing a real service there. So that's something that's grown from just allowing the kids to come in for a safe space during lunch or after school.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So wish them well with that. As I say, I've seen this bookmobile in action. It looks great. But
so the bookmobile has gone to parks and schools. It's done at Farmers Park. It had connected with 500 visitors, which is the biggest single day they've ever had attendance wise.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that the Niagara Falls Public Library can do for you. Now I directed a lady here at the building I am here who was struggling with a computer. She knew how to use it, but always got into some kind of trouble, this or that, couldn't, whatever. So I would help her from time to time, but I'm really not that good at anything like that. So what I suggested to her, I phoned right then and there. The last time I was talking to her, I phoned the library and asked if they had some kind of facilities to help. Yeah, sure enough, they do. You can get a 55 minute session with an expert that will sit down with you and help you figure out what to do with your computer, how you can more benefit yourself from your computer. I got friends that still are awkward using phones or computers or anything. I got a friend who hasn't used his laptop in years because he just can't get it. Things have changed so much, but that's all you have to do is go to the library and they'll freshen you right up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't know they did that sort of thing. Well done. Kudos to you for actually putting that out there. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Ireland is among one of the many countries that are considering boycotting Eurovision if Israel is in the competition. Now, this is actually a weird thing because I've got 2 or 3 things here that I remember watching Eurovision when I was young. I kind of think to myself today, what the heck is the Eurovision Song Contest still doing on air? And it was always odd. Why the hell was Israel in it in the first place? Because they're not part of Europe, right? Let's be blunt about it. Israel should not have been in Eurovision anyway. Full stop. End of story.
Yeah, how they got in the first place, I don't know. Probably somebody said, we should include them or whatever. I don't know. And they probably, they have a lot of resources. They probably were able to, in order to get concluded, they're probably able to lobby the Eurovision organization or whatever. Anyway, they got in, and right now the problem is Eurovision going to be so good this year? Spain, which was one of the biggest suppliers of media for the event, is shutting it down. Ireland doesn't want anything to do with it. Slovenia doesn't want anything to do with it, and that's because Israel is involved. And of course, this is a protest against what they have done in Gaza and the human rights and probably the West Bank as well. So you wonder what gives them the right to boycott them there. Okay.
See, I've got 2 things. It's like, why is Eurovision Song Contest still going? Eurovision as an organization, it's the European television networks that work together in order to get things done. I get that as an organization. Again, shouldn't have Israel in it because Israel's not part of Europe. And apart from that, well, I don't know. Never had Russia in it because of the problems with Russia.
Well, they kicked out Russia. They kicked out Russia 3 years ago. So why do they still have Israel in it? Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is a ethno-religious state that you have to be pretty much 20% of the country is made up of 10% Muslim Palestinians and 10% Christian Palestinians, but the rest of it's Jewish. Even those particular citizens are maybe not on, could be jeopardized as well. They are in control of the West Bank and Gaza. In the West Bank, they're doing the settlement movement. So why are they, even if you take out the Gaza war, why should they have been involved in anyway, having an apartheid state as they do? So if you're going to kick out Russia, why then do you have an aggressive country like Israel who's doing the same thing that Russia's doing? Russia's moving into parts of Ukraine, and Israel's moving into the West Bank and displacing people. So you wonder, what is the ethics that they have? Well, Russia can't do it, but Israel can. So, but then again, there's the argument that it shouldn't be political at all. It should be just plain artists, which I kind of agree with things like Olympics and things like that. These people have taken a long time to develop their craft, and your own politics or idiotic politics is excluding you, I don't think that's fair to the artist. Now, the other problem is in Eurovision, there are judges that make up 1/2 of the vote, and people voting make up the other half of it. So in order for someone to win the Eurovision contest, 1/2 of them, 1/2 of
and the rules are very clear, because in fact, actually, in Britain, you can't. In the UK, you can't vote for the UK singer. You'd have to vote for everybody else but the UK singer.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
and in France, you can't vote for the French person. You have to vote for everybody else. The trouble is, there are clear allegiances across Eurovision that have made the contest a nonsense over the years.
well, that was the big problem. And the other problem with Israel is it was boosting its own participant in Eurovision. It went around, and obviously it's lobbied here and there and trying to get votes from other countries for its own artist.
Yeah.
And so it's actively trying to boost its own artist in the Eurovision contest, which is supposed to be against the rules. But since the Israelis can't vote for their own Israeli artist, they've gone into other countries trying to boost it.
Arguably, for example, winding the clock way back, the only reason the Swedish group ABBA won it was because both Britain and Germany voted for ABBA as as the number one group of on that particular occasion. So they carried major amounts of votes.
Well, that was what it was supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be the people of Europe voting for it, and all that. But of course, it's all become all very political.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and sneaky. If you can try to boost your own artist by kind of lobbying the other countries to see if you can get them to vote for you, I mean, seriously, what's it all about?
Well, part of it's supposed to be a telephone poll.
Right? Well, the thing, the article says there's been rule changes and things of that kind, but it could be unfair. But the big issue, of course, is what was happening in Gaza and what Israel's done in the West Bank, and why, if you don't allow Russia into it because of their aggressive stance towards their neighbors, why would you do that for Israel?
And besides which, Israel has never been part of Europe. It's not part of Europe, right?
I don't know what other countries are there that aren't part of Europe.
Well, the only other one, you see, Turkey and Russia, basically both are Europe and Asia, right?
Well, yeah, Turkey has a presence in Europe because of Istanbul and that one piece. So they are in Europe. Russia, of course, is one half of all of the European plain, and 1/3 of all, nearly 1/3 of all Asia belongs to Russia. So,
yeah. And those are the two major countries that are not wholly within Europe, but they are partially within Europe. Israel is not, and it's always been an outlier.
Well, it's been a European-like country, despite the fact that it's not the same kind of democracy as European democracies are.
Yeah,
European democracies are a little bit more open.
That's always been the argument about why you have it's Israel in there.
Well, Israel's more a Western-leaning country, I suppose that's part of it. Germany is a strong ally of Israel, so Germany probably helped bring it along. But right now we have countries like Ireland. Spain's a big one. Spain provided a lot of media for Eurovision, and it won't participate this year because of what's happened in Gaza.
Yeah.
I don't know. So basically, I kind of feel sorry for the artists, like I do athletes when they get banned just because they're from a certain country. I mean, think of yourself as an Olympian, and you've worked your whole life
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And you've qualified for the Olympics. You're one of the best in your field, and you get the chance to compete. And what happens?
Yeah.
Nothing happens, right? You can't
Even if you're,
compete. Like
yeah,
so, and that's
even if you're
because
in
of
no hope
politics.
of,
That's because of the your own government's idiotic politics or the another government's idiotic policies. So as
yeah.
far as athletes are concerned, I think they should just be allowed to compete, and I don't even think they should be allowed to compete under anyone should be under compete under a banner of a nationality. They should just go there as an athlete and compete.
And Chris Simone says they just need the Jews for television. I'm not sure that is. Well, yeah. The whole question about Eurovision has always bugged me for quite some time.
I'm not familiar with it. I never watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure how successful the artists are after
We've
they
had some, Eurovision Song Contest has brought some really truly successful international artists to the world stage. Prime examples being people like ABBA, but it's also played to particularly British groups that were already well known. Therefore, they shouldn't have been a part of the Eurovision Song Contest in the first place. But Eurovision was supposed to take those from almost well known to truly internationally well known. ABBA is a prime example of that. Without Eurovision, they probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but anyway, it's important competition and all that. And what we do find now is artists are in the vice of politics, and we do find that there's now meddling. The Israelis not only are asked to be having them banned like the Russians for the same particular reason, very much similar reasons, but also they found that the Israelis were privately or trying to boost their entrant, their particular artist. They were trying to boost the votes for that particular artist in other countries. They're promoting their own artist in other countries so they can get the votes. If they're doing it, I'm sure the other countries are doing it too.
Oh, so, yeah. One of the, as I said, one of the biggest challenges about the Eurovision Song Contest is how favoritism plays. For example, the Greeks always support the Cypriots and vice versa.
Yeah, so and they would the Greeks would be supporting the
Greeks. Germany votes for Austria, and Austria votes for Germany. It's where it becomes.
Yeah, well, obviously they need some rule change. Part of what this article was was the need for rule changes and the adoption of new rules.
Yeah, and
maybe they're trying to address them.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think it's about time we can say. I think, to be quite honest, it's about time we need to wave goodbye to Eurovision.
Or just have a non-national sort of competition, if you want a competition, but open to the whole world. Basically, send your best artist here. If you got a tune and you got money, you can come here and present it. They do have rules, though. You can't have more than 6 people on stage, and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. It might be a good format for the development of arts. Unfortunately, politics is creeping into this at deadly, and money and other concerns, of course, because if you get the green light from Eurovision, that might mean more money or prestige for your country, more money for you. And that's why you might want to go around and start lobbying other countries to vote for you.
Yeah.
Like Germany votes for Austria and Austria votes for Germany. et cetera, you know. So it's kind of like politics. It was like trying to get the politics out of figure skating, if you remember that. It was really hard to get politics out of figure skating. Here, you vote for us and we'll vote for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and here Rick says, tomorrow, folks, we'll be talking about North Korea and Canada.
North Korea. What's happening in North Korea? What time?
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Moving on, if I may. Okay. Ontario mayors are looking to have the province declare a state of emergency for homeless and addiction, etc. This is, we're coming back to this again. We're cycling round again.
Forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
So nothing really is getting done. A lot of posturing is happening, a lot of confusion, a lot of what to do. Nobody knows what to do. The problem is growing. It's growing continually. The programs that are in place are either underfunded or don't work and are underfunded, whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Usually the argument is it's underfunded, that's why it doesn't work. And the other argument is as much money as we throw at it, it never gets better.
Yeah.
And then we have these pronouncements now. Oh, yeah, well, we got this homeless problem. What do we do about it? Well, for the last 20 years, I've heard this. Haven't you?
Yeah.
Especially during the last 10 or 15 years. Definitely.
Every day we've run this show since 2019. I suspect, we may not have talked about homelessness, but homelessness has been part of the agenda that we've seen everywhere.
Yes, and as we all know, when for a long time, when everybody had a homeless solution for local politics, everybody had their own idea of a solution. Well, it never happened because those solutions, although they sound good on paper, they never work. And the whole idea of homeless people becoming more and more disliked, more and more viewed as wastrels and offscourings. That'll happen because the more and more buildings they squat in and burn down, like we suspect that might have happened with the St. Catharines building. We suspect that happened to some of our own buildings here. People get in, squat in them, light fires to stay warm, and then the whole place comes down in a big blaze. So,
to be quite honest, we've had a state of emergency for homelessness for at least 10 years.
Yeah, and every time you say something and nothing gets done, no one has a solution. It is it's almost like it's incurable. It's just a thing that's going to get bigger. And what are you going to do about it? And everybody's solution seems to be stymied one way or another. You don't want to go draconian with it. You don't want to go too lax with it. You want to provide services, but on the other hand, you can't provide too many because each one of them has rights. So once you put them in a mental hospital, they have the right to sign themselves out of it after 72 hours. Each one of them has rights that you can't infringe upon. When you can't infringe upon them, then they do terrible things and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And then we have local council-run type facilities like Niagara Regional Housing that are just treating it as a revolving door. Anybody does something, a small, minor discretion, you're out. All right.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah. There's too much of this going on. I mean, you might not be experiencing it in your place, but there's a lot of this going on with Niagara Regional Housing.
Well, we're connected with Niagara Regional Housing. We have the opposite problem. We can't get rid of somebody that's a terrible tenant. It's very, very difficult. Their place is full of cockroaches. We can't go in with pest people. They tear down the walls and rip out the wire, and we still can't get in there and get them out. And we have a really hard time getting rid of the ones that are really bad and making a problem for all the other ones that are good tenants. So
Yeah.
One bad tenant.
But again, cockroaches are not generally caused by tenants. They're generally a problem within a specific location and need to be eradicated.
Well, if you have if a tenant's apartment is full of cockroaches and you're trying to get in there to stop them from spreading to other places,
that's an issue.
You can't do that.
Yeah,
and you can't get
those cockroaches are spreading to other units as well.
Yeah. So you want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I gotta go. I have to do my bingo thing, and anyway, like I always say, think of Gaza, pray for peace. They're trying to get to the second stage. They talk about opening the border at Rafah and bringing in more food supplies. It's going to be a real problem. And what I really want for Gaza is to be opened to outside journalists. The United States and Israel hate that. They don't want that to happen in any way possible. And I really don't see much hope for Palestinians with Trump really in the pocket of Netanyahu, or each one of them in the pocket of the other, and Israel running the United States as if the United States is client country. I can't even think of any real fairness coming to the Palestinians. But that, I hope, is wrong thinking. And anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.
Yeah.